Hello, TNA fam, and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We are back again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. Now, we have had a recent interview with the boss, Carlos Silva, and I can't remember who this was with, so I am going to look it up if I can find it. I've seen it quite a bit, but let's see if I can find it. Where are you? Where is it? Do I have to actually legit look it up? Please, sir. Please. Oh, here we go. Okay, so it was with Sirius XM, so Busted Open Radio, I believe. Let's see. No, this is not it. I don't think. But that is, I believe that this is the right article. So I'm going to directly read some things from the article. So he provided, Carlos Silva provided an update on the TNA TV deal, saying we're working with our lawyers to get a deal together. We're going to be on a new platform in 2026. So this is finally some amount of confirmation that they're going to be on a new platform. And hopefully that platform will, and as I said, I don't know the US very well, but I hope that will get them in as many homes as possible so that people can actually watch this show and decide whether they want to buy tickets to shows and things like that. So I'm not going to read all of this stuff, but whatever. So this was on Jonathan Coachman's Off the Ropes show. Okay, so this was a separate interview. I've just seen the one where he was on Busted Open recently as well. So he said that he had a call on October 6th, and they've been meeting with lawyers to piece the deal together. And they'll be on, and he feels like they'll be on the deal in 2026. So I have to really read through this really quickly. So he says, I feel good about it moving forward. We're going to get a great deal done. Be on a new platform in 26. Like everything, we can't talk about it till it's on the dot. All the T's are dotted and the I's are crossed and whatnot. But that is good. I think it's like 2 months, something like that. So we have speculated for a long time, or there has been that speculation, that the announcement would come at Bound for Glory. I don't know whether that's the case currently now. It could come at Bound for Glory. It was said we would get the announcement roughly around this time, and we're starting to get some announcement. I don't think it would happen at Turning Point, because that is not close enough to the end of the year to really cap off the end of the year. Let's quickly look. I can't remember because they haven't actually announced the dates or the dates after Bound for Glory, but they have announced some of the dates. Oh, actually, no, they have. I forgot about it. Or is this? This is it? This it? No, it's on the same date. Okay. I thought this said, Bound for Glory taping. It's not. Okay, but anyway, Turning Point is in November, live on the 14th. Final Resolution is the 5th of December. So, like, obviously Full Sail, like, it's one of the, like, with the Turning Point, I don't think that makes it doesn't make zero sense, but if you say, okay, let's announce it at Final Resolution, or potentially announce it at Final Resolution, then, like, you've got a few weeks, at least a few weeks worth of TV, especially like the recap episodes, to be like, hey, we're no longer going to be here, guys. We're going to be on a new network. Bye. And, like, I still think that this coincides with WWE's moving things around, but I'm not sure. I could look it up, but I don't care enough that much, to be honest. But still, like, you could still say, well, we could still be on the same network, actually. You know, I still think that people have said, no, they'll never be on the same network or whatever. Why not? Like, it doesn't matter what network they're on. I don't care because I'm not in the US, but it just, like, it matters for advertising revenue and, you know, just viewership and things like that. So, like, again, that's been another thing. Like, this, I hate to give WWE credit sometimes because I just, like, it does feel like they made a commitment and then they went, oh shit, we shouldn't have made that commitment, and then they went, oh well, now we've got to keep that commitment. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot by saying, yes, we'll do this, and yes, we'll do that, and yes, we'll do this, or what have you. But they were like, oh shit, now we've actually got to, you know, follow through with this and follow through with that and follow through with whatever. So I don't think they really want to do these things. I think that they're like, oh yeah, we agreed to this stuff, so now we've got to do it and whatnot. So, you know, and I think that's another reason why they've been like, hey, you know, we've got to do these things because, or we've got to have Trick Williams, or we've got to have this person over here, or whatever, most of the time. So, you know, unfortunately, he can't come to this event, he can't come to that event, he can't come here, he can't do this, he can't do that, because we need him for our things, and blah, 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 and whatever, or whoever else. Like, a lot of the other people that they've kind of, like, and I think Trick has been, like, the longest tenured person from NXT going to TNA. But yeah, like, it's crazy. It's one of those crazy things about it, but still, it's really, like, still, it's like he's not, you know, there all the time or what. And, like, he doesn't need to be, but it's just sort of like it's obvious that it's because, hey, well, we need him, and, well, we know we promised him to you, kind of. But now we need him, and see you later in a few months. So we'll only put him to you when you, like, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, even, like, are dying to need him. Other than that, he's over here with us. So see you later, bye. You know, like, that's been, like, a lot of the MO with that. And I think, like, that was the reason, or somewhat of the reason, why they kind of, you know, gave up on JC Jane's title reign, because they were like, we can't keep doing this with this person. So, you know, and we really want this person now. Now that they've, you know, they've seemingly gotten, you know, clicked with the audience, or clicked, or whatever else it is. With their character and things like that, or, you know, like, now we can see the value in them after, you know, like, we were probably going to just, you know, release them a few months ago, but, you know, TNA helped there and actually made your girl look good, and you went, oh shit, she can actually wrestle and she can actually do stuff, let's make her champion then, and let's see where that goes. And then you were like, oh, you know what? She's a really good champion. Let's give her the TNA title too. And then they were like, oh, actually, no, we shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have really done that. And this is what I mean, again, by the ADHD booking or whatever. It's just like the first thought that pops in the head or whatever else it is, you think to yourself, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Let's do that. And then you go, oh, wait, no, we didn't really think that through or whatever else it was. And, yeah, we can't spare her, or we can't really spare her. So, we've got to get that belt off her as quickly as possible so that we can move on and we can use her now that we actually see the value in her. Before we didn't. But yeah, whatever. But still, no, like overall, like the TV deal can only help. It can only help, no matter what it is, realistically. Because although I don't really love how dumb some people are about the TV network that they've got, it isn't good. But yet the WWE in some ways does help, but still, like, yeah, it's not great, is it? But the thing is, it's one of those things of saying, again, what is their drawership on that network? It's insane. Absolutely insane. And again, like, people have said it, not just me, and I don't know enough about the USA networks and whatnot on all of this stuff, but it's a butt-ass network that, basically no one barely watches. And TNA is like the biggest thing that is watched on that network. But no one really watches that network. And no one really has access to that network, which is ironic considering its name. But, again, it's a very, very small network, so they pretty much maxed out their viewership with what they were doing back in 2020. Like, that was like their maximum number of viewers, like, ever, I think. And they've never gotten back to that place again, just because, now it's like, well, not everyone has to be at home 24/7 pretty much and whatever else, but yeah, and not have to find something to watch or whatever it is. But yeah, like, again, it's one of those things of, anything would be better. But yeah, like, it is really crazy in some ways, their ability to have sold as many pay-per-view buys, as many tickets, and as many things as what they have, considering, their network. Because the network is one of the biggest things that actually gives you a reach of an audience, Like, social media and all of these other things do a great job of that too, but again, kind of realistically, you've kind of got to be looking for the thing that, that you want to see. So unless you already know about it, you're not super likely to kind of see some of that stuff sometimes. Even when you're following certain accounts and things like that, if the algorithm doesn't push something to you, then you're just not going to even ever see things like this, unless, like, you're, like, looking at, like, local venues and local events, like, in your own area or what have you. You might not ever know that, hey, this thing is happening or that thing is happening. Like, I looked at, like, what was going on with the whole WWE in Australia recently, but it's all the way over in Perth and that and whatnot. So that's a long way away. That's basically like from New York to California or what have you. So it's basically on the other side of the country from me, and pretty much literally the same amount of distance. So yeah, like, that's just not realistically going to happen. And I understand, like, as well, like, the ticket sales and things like that. Like, I think they're a lot cheaper than WWE, but the problem in some ways is, despite the fact that they've kind of been on somewhat of a hot streak in some ways, they're not as a hot of a commodity as what WWE is. And they might not ever be. Like, it doesn't matter who they bring in. Like it will increase some people's level of interest to be like, oh, okay, they've got, Dolph Ziggler there, and they've got this person there, and they've got that person there. They've got the Hardys there. They've got this young up-and-comer Leon Slater. He seems cool. And whatnot, or whatever. They've got Joe Hendry. And that's another thing. It's like, when you have people that are a draw for your company, it's like, well, what are we going to do without that person? Or how are we going to fare without that person? One of the biggest or best things that you can do to kind of patch losing a talent like that, or losing talent like that, like the Hardys and whatnot, and like Jordan Grace like a few years ago, is getting bigger and better distribution deals. Because when you have bigger and better distribution, more people know about your product and what you're doing, and where you're going to be, and when and where and what and how much it all costs and things like that. So, like, a lot of people do fly in and fly out from various different places to see the shows. But if it's local to you, you might be like, oh yeah, I've got nothing else happening this weekend or what have you, so I might check it out. If the tickets are, fairly reasonably cheap, or we can find some good ones or what have you. But yeah, no, like, I think this distribution deal, like, it's not everything, and like, it certainly will be a boon, but it's not like we're in trouble. And that's what I said before, like, to somebody who was like saying, oh, like, it won't change anything. Like, it might not change anything realistically, but like, they've been in this same position for the last, like, what, 5, 6 years, 7 years, or whatever it's been. I can't remember now. So, like, like, even so, it's like not going to, like, be worse for them. It can't be any worse for them. Literally cannot be any worse for them. So, yeah. And yet they've been doing fine for the last, like, really the last, like, 2 years or so. So, again, like, you can make that argument of saying, well, that's because of WWE, or the WWE relationship, or whatever else it is. Yeah, you could also say that's because of the name change back to TNA. There's a lot of things like the Joe Hendry in the last couple of years, Leon Slater recently, Mike Santana, like, recently sort of as well. Like, and the fact that, they've got so many good things. They do have many good things, but they need to, like, be able to capitalize on everything a bit more. And, like, the Hardys are great in some ways, and like I've said before, I'm becoming less and less a fan of them personally, because I feel like it's the nostalgia act that needs to end, or at least whatever it needs to, they need to put other people over, and especially if they're on their way out, and like, maybe this is a TNA, like, them not really pulling their finger out, or them being like, well, this is what WWE wants, and maybe it's, again, like, they don't have enough time on TV to be like, oh, well, we need to set this up, or we need to set that up, or whatever else, or maybe it's just an oversight of saying, oh, well, or maybe it's just me being like, oh, I'm not really thinking about the great hands, or whatever else it is, because they're going to push them, or whatever. But, like, why would I think that when they haven't been a tag team in, like, over a year? Like, or really haven't been, like, teaming together very much. Like, they've mostly been in that faction. And, like, you might start saying, well, it's time that faction held all the gold, or held some gold, or what have you. that sort of thing, because now you can start doing things like that to be like, okay, you've got, again, an automatic rematch sort of situation with the system, type thing there already kind of built up. So there's your first challengers and your first defense easily done. I know we're not really talking about the things but I'm just saying, like, if this was on the TV program, well, of course that's not the most interesting thing, because you're probably being like, oh yeah, they're not going to lose the titles yet. Come on, they just bloody won the damn things. But if you're in WWE, obviously you don't know, because they bloody have ADHD booking and just book whatever they think. And like, if it's even a few days later, it's like, oh no, we need these titles on these people now. And these guys were just like transitional champions just to, not have a babyface versus babyface matchup or whatever. But we didn't really think about that, but whatever. We don't care. And the titles are on who they need to be on and whatever. And that's it. That's all that matters. Like, okay, cool, great. Way to bury your future prospects there, guys. Like, should have done that months ago, or should have kept the titles on somebody else, or whatever else it was. I don't know, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, still, I still think, like, like, you need, like, that, like, it will bring in more money, hopefully, because, like, they were looking for, like, 10 million or whatever it was. That's not a lot, really, but it's way more than what they have. So, I don't even know what it is now, like, but it's more than what they have. And, like, they've brought in some really big names. But, yeah, like, again, you need to not only bring in big names from, like, WWE, you need to bring up, like, young indie stars and things like that, or build the stars that you've kind of got. You've got the Great Hands, you've got Sinner and Saint, you've got, the Rascals, you've got a few other people there, you've got, M by Elegance and Heather by Elegance, you've got all these wrestlers there, you've got Danny Luna, you've got Jody Threat, you've got all these people there, like, I don't know, like, again, like, where are you going with it all? Like, where is it all going? Or whatever. Like, again, you've got Killer Kelly kind of there somewhat. And you've got Myron Reed there kind of somewhat. So, like, again, time to start saying, okay, we've got all these great, like, great baby faces here. We needed some great heels. And maybe we should turn some of these people heel or what have you, whatnot. That's up to you guys to decide who's going to be heel, who's going to be babyface, what have you. But, like, just saying, everyone's babyface now, actually does people a disservice, So... especially if you don't, like, you cannot, like, paint your heels slimy and be like, oh, they can't win because they're heels, what have you. That's the, like, old traditional way. But eventually they need to be able to win, even by hook or by crook, But yeah, I still don't know, dudes. It's difficult, I get that, but it's just, sometimes I don't know what the thought is, if there is a thought, so to speak. So I'm sure there is, but what it is, ya boy don't know. So, like, the question, I guess, becomes, like, I don't know, like, I guess we have to wait and see. That's the, like, one of the biggest things with the TV deal. because, like, when they have more money, they still don't have more time. And that's been, like, one of the consistent things that I've been saying for a while, of saying, or the level of investment. Where's the level of investment? And maybe you're doing it in some of these, Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or whatever, or Twitter exclusives, but like when you don't have those on TV, like, and you expect everyone to watch them, like, dude, you really need to put some of that on TV so that people, because it's an episodic show, people don't just watch, people sometimes don't just see some of these things. So putting these things on, the TV show really helps. And this is again where I say to, like, you've got, like I've said this before, time management, guys. It sucks because it is very hard to feature everyone every week or what have you. But that's what you've got to do. And maybe you can't feature everyone every week, but you say, okay, we've got to feature our world title the most prominently. So that's got to be the first thing that we've got to work out. Like, we've got to work out our world title picture first. Okay. And the thing is, like, you should have this planned out, like, several months in advance. Like, maybe things, like, do change, but you have to say, okay, what is our vision? Where are we going? How are we getting there? And that sort of thing. So you can't just say, oh, we're only going to book, this month, and cool, great. Okay, we've booked this month. And then when we come back at the end of the month, basically, or whatever it is, or next month, we'll book for the next month. You can't just do that. You need even if you've got a long-term plan or what have you, it's like you've got to say, okay, no, we've got to book, 3 to 6 months in advance or what have you. At least the general plan. Like, this is our general plan. Maybe we don't know when this is exactly going to happen, or that's going to exactly happen, or how this is exactly going to happen. But here's our 6-month plan. Do this with this person. Do that with this person. When do we do this? Oh, I don't know. Maybe we should have done it last week, but let's do it this week. Like that match with Santana and Ridge Holland. Like, it wasn't like the biggest match there, but again, like, if you were going to do that, you should have set it up weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks ago. You should have set it up months ago. Or you should have been like going, okay, we know this is going to happen. How do we showcase this is what's going to happen, like, or whatnot. Things like that. You've got to have those little breadcrumbs or what have you, and things like that, being like, oh, okay, if you're paying attention, you get that reward or what have you. And things like that. So, yeah. Plus, again, like, if you had have set it up, earlier, there would have been more interest. Like, and again, if you had have said, oh, here he gets to come in and beat somebody up, on the roster, the hometown man, whoever, it doesn't matter. Somebody, Matt Cardona, because he's not really here anyway, or JDC, or Brian Myers, any of the jobbers. He can beat up any of the jobbers effectively. But yeah, now he's got that win even against the jobber. He's looked really good. You're going to have this big stare down with him and Santana, and, that's going to lead to them clashing, at some point. Could have done it so much better if you had, and maybe that's, WWE being like, oh yeah, you can have him this week, but you couldn't have him last week. Sorry, bye. Or you could have just been like, okay, we'll frame it like a mystery, frame it like a mystery, and then when they let us have him, we'll reveal that it was him. Fucking simple, like this whole time it was this guy, now they're gonna face off, or what have you, instead of just, oh, he's here and he's attacked Santana, oh, and they're gonna face off. Great. He didn't do anything with it. It wasn't built up enough. It wasn't like, yeah, that's what I mean. Some of these things they no one really cares about. Like, so it's like, well, why me see this? This could be on an episode of TV, but then again, they might be like, oh, we don't want him to be there on TV. But then again, like, if you're on TV, you're going to be seen by less people than what are on pay-per-view. But whatever, I don't know, dudes. It's just one of those things of how it works sometimes. I get that. But again, like, if you have got that opportunity, and that's what is wanted or what is needed, well, you've got to actually let us, take that. You can't just say, here he is the day before or the week before or whatever. You need to give us a few weeks or a month at least, because even that's really a short turnaround for a feud. But that's fine for a short-term feud or whatever, But yeah, what have you. Whatever. And I get, again, it could be stuff to do with WWE. I don't want to nitpick too much, but again, like, there's a lot of things that are like that. So I do hope for the best with it all, because again, like, that's the sort of thing, perhaps because they've been on this network, where it's like, it doesn't really matter that much what we do. We get about the same number of viewers every single week, so we're pretty safe with whatever we do. Doesn't really matter. We can't, like, and in some ways that's bad, again, because it's like, oh, we can't really make too many waves. Not many people are really, like, gonna tune in no matter what we do, especially since it's taped. When it's live, yeah, we might get some more viewers or what have you. That's cool. But, yeah, it's really, really tough to get, people's attention when it's taped and whatnot, no matter who's on the show, even so. But yeah, no, like, we've seen that so many times since. So, but yeah, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this one anyway, and I hope you guys will join me again in another one.